Subsection C of the amendment declares that the act of prenatal murder is illegal in all instances in the state of Georgia. And subsection D sets forth the penalty for a violation to be the same as for first-degree murder. Then as you go through, you see sections 2.1 through 2.17, which specifically repeal those portions of the Georgia Code that have regulated and allowed for prenatal murder in certain circumstances. In other words, these sections repeal those provisions of Georgia law that say, in effect, that just so long as you do certain things or don't do other things, then it's okay to murder the baby. Well, as I wrap up here, let me ask you, what's Adolf Hitler primarily remembered for? Isn't it his effort to exterminate the Jews? As you know, Nazis didn't consider Jews to be persons. And sadly, there was a time in our country when persons of African descent were not considered to be persons and were denied personhood. Let me ask you, did that determination make them any less of a person? Obviously not. You know it didn't. I hope you'll recall the pamphlet that I mailed you at the end of December. Hope all of you got it. It reminds us of one of the motivations of the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, in her founding that organization. Remember what one of her prime motivations was? It was the elimination of the black race. Now, I don't know about you, but I find such a genocidal attitude to be repugnant and reprehensible. Yet sadly, even today, prenatal murders are committed at a significantly and disproportionately higher rate among African Americans. You've heard it said that a woman should not be denied her reproductive choice. You've heard it said that prenatal murder must remain legal in order to ensure a woman's health. Well, I wonder if those same people would defend a plantation owner's right to preserve the financial health of his plantation if it meant keeping and owning slaves, even if it was that plantation owner's choice. Certainly no one would agree with that. These objections are mere smoke and mirror scare tactics which do not address the issue at hand. I don't have to tell you that prenatal murder is a brutal and evil practice. You know in your heart that it is. There are others, however, who say that this amendment that I'm proposing, that the language needs to include exceptions for rape and incest. And I ask you, why? I say the state needs to be punishing the rapist and the pervert, not the innocent child who is also a victim of the rape and incest. Why do we want to continue to punish the victim? Even God tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16, fathers shall not be put to death for their sons, nor shall sons be put to death for their fathers. Everyone shall be put to death for his own sin. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time that we stop punishing the child for the sins of the father. Each year here in Georgia, there are around 40,000 babies slaughtered in their mother's wombs. That's a lot of bloodshed. God tells us in Numbers 35:33, so you shall not pollute the land in which you are, for blood pollutes the land, and no expiation can be made for the land for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. I urge you, therefore, to set aside any fears you might have in voting for this amendment, and instead, I urge you to fear God. As David wrote in Psalm 2, verses 10 through 12, now therefore, O kings, show discernment. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Worship the Lord with reverence and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son, that he not become angry and you perish in the way. For his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. We don't need to be paralyzed into inaction by a fear of what some other branch of government may or may not do. Remember, the duty is ours. The outcome is God's. Now, the vote or the series of votes that you're about to make on this amendment will be the most important and eternally significant that you will cast. Make no mistake about it. It's time that we stood up to defend the most helpless among us. It's time that we defend our constitutional duty to protect all human persons from conception to natural death. It's time that we unite and end the evil of prenatal murder. And I urge you to join with me in ending this bloodshed. Now, as I end here, I want to remind us that on Wednesday's consideration calendar, this bill, Senate Bill 16, was listed as an open rule. And then all of a sudden it came out as a modified structured rule. So when I get back to my seat, I want you to join me and vote with me as I make the motion to temporarily suspend the rules so that we can consider this amendment. Let's end the bloodshed. Now is the time. Mr. Speaker, I yield the will.
The gentleman has yielded the will. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair's none. The previous question is ordered.